A place as complex as the Northeast is a fascination, especially for a philosopher to apply his mind. Diversity, preservation, factors that cultivate respect or dominance in the context of the region's engagement with the larger Indian diversity. Tribal traditions being lost, national unity. Can it be built on erased memories? Dealing with these deep issues was Mrinal Miri, the chairman of the Indian Council of Philosophical Research, a philosopher who hails from Assam. He gave a lecture at the Nehru Memorial Museum. He feels deeply connected with the Northeast. Everyone in the Northeast is multilingual because of the numerous languages spoken there.
Perhaps there is no comparable geographical area in the world which is home to cultural diversity of this magnitude. The linguistic diversity of the region is an inalienable part of this cultural diversity. Many of these languages are on the UNESCO list of endangered languages. Although the number of languages may not quite coincide with the number of cultures, because a single culture can frequently embrace considerable linguistic variations. Languages that are in a very large measure independent of each other, e.g. Bhojpuri and Khasi, embody distinct cultures.
At the northeast of India, and if you were sort of to take it as one sort of homogeneous group for our convenience, is separated from the mainland and from the rest of the country by a certain kind of, isolation, which is not just geographical, but which is in terms of, the ethnic composition of the people. Peoples share a lot with Southeast Asia. So there is a reason for looking, as it were, different. You look different. You speak differently. You are not well versed with the rest of the Indian sort of native cultures. And what you do is you practice a certain kind of culture which has still remained alien to the rest of India. These are the reasons why you look different, you live differently, you speak in a different tongue. Therefore, there is a cultural isolation, which I think abets and aids this whole idea of remaining an alien even within, your own country.
Northeast's relationship with India also needs to be looked at more in terms of how for the business class, by saying business class, I'm talking about people and capital being invested, right, in the northeast of India. For them, the integration or disintegration has never been a problem. It is for the common ordinary citizens where this thing of integration. So in that sense, the haves have never been facing a problem in terms of the conflict between the northeast and here. So I think you really need to talk in terms of differential language when you talk about northeast as people living there and as separate from the capital which is being invested there.
In recent times particularly, and if you look at India's post-independent history, I think the need to ascertain autonomies within these different homelands and within these different peoples and communities of the Northeast has made it imperative for the region to somehow, be heard a little more than it is. It has been, of course, suppressed by a certain kind of historical accident, in the sense that it was buffered off at one point of time, became part of a Northeast Frontier Agency, was seen, as you see, in the 1962 war with China, almost an impending kind of, a threat to the rest of the nation. So all of these reasons have made it somewhat obscure in the history and in the imagination of the country. Also because in more recent times, because of subnationalist aggressions, insurgency on the one hand, a great deal of economic deprivation and backwardness, lack of employment opportunities, therefore, and so many other sort of, collaborative reasons have made it somehow, sink into a kind of, lower sort of region, inferior as it were. And this has troubled, both the history and the memory of the country.
That history is very current memory, of course, but I think people have also moved beyond it. So you have For example, recently many of the progressive scholars from the Northeast, they were joking about the fact that they are also becoming comfortable with the idea of being Indians and all these things. So things have moved in that part. But at the same time, you cannot complete the current history of conflict with Indian state or within the Northeast area. It's so recent and in continuity that it's difficult to talk about its relationship with India in the past tense when they were forced into becoming part of the Indian Union and all these things. So that memory is very current, but at the same time I don't think those inform current movements so much than it used to happen in 60s to 90s.
And this is, I don't know whether this is a true story or it is, fictional, but Gandhiji met Fizeau. And Gandhiji said to Fizeau of course wanted independence. That time it was no Nagaland. That was this Naga territory, right? Fizeau said, I don't want Naga territory to be part of India. Gandhiji said, no, I would like to think of the Naga territory as my own. But I would also like you to think of India as your own.
But the fundamental question that arises here is, on what terms?
It is in the creative engagement with the state past that a community can be at home with itself. Such engagement, of course, does not exclude a critical look at oneself and openness to the other. Our attempts, frequently unwitting, to deprive our communities of their past come from different sources. Two of them are, one, the totally misconceived so-called strategic reason that for purposes of national integration, it is best that memories of an autonomous past are not rekindled. I've heard a lot of people say this. It is misconceived strategically because national unity cannot be built on erased memories. In fact, memories cannot be erased. They have a way of surfacing in different guises, some of which may be quite dangerous from whatever point of view we look at them. Being an Indian means that one is the inheritor of the great wealth, moral, spiritual, cultural, and intellectual wealth that is India's. The wealth, of course, also means the wealth of diversity. Such inheritance can give one an enhanced sense of identity, which brings with it a special sense of responsibility. And this responsibility can become a part of our total ethical being. National identity may sometimes acquire an overriding ethical dimension, but it is not necessary. Nor does it, of course, exclude respect for other national identities. But commitment to a nation is a powerful challenge. The challenge needs to be met with much ethical energy and sensitivity. The challenge, it is important to remind oneself, is to a very large extent the challenge of developing respect, genuine, deep, as opposed to surface respect for diversity. The other aspect of national unity is the strength of the self-interest that is involved in being part of a nation. The interest ranges from security, both internal and external, economic well-being, and sharing a world of peace, harmony, freedom, and equality.
भारत संचार निगम लिमिटेड यानी BSNL और मैं अक्सर ये बातें करते हैं कि BSNL ना होता तो टेलीकॉम सर्विस के क्षेत्र में ट्रस्ट, क्रेडिबिलिटी और लॉयल्टी का क्या होता। लोएस्ट टैरिफ है तो BSNL, और तो और BSNL 3G सेवाओं में सबसे बड़ा नेटवर्क है BSNL। अब अपनों को अपनों से दूर न रखे। BSNL कनेक्टिंग इंडिया, भारत संचार निगम लिमिटेड, पूर्ण स्वदेशी।
ये 2000 ट्रांसपोर्ट के, 1000 मोबाइल के, 300 केबल के।
अरे ये क्या कर रही हो?
घर खर्च के लिए हिसाब किताब, यू नो, प्लानिंग। भविष्य के लिए भी तो कुछ बचाना है ना।
ठीक है। और ये देखो, इस बार NSSO वाले भी ट्रांसपोर्ट, मोबाइल, लॉन्ड्री और अन्य सेवाओं पर होने वाले घरेलू खर्चों की जानकारी ले रहे हैं। साथ ही वो इस बात की जानकारी भी ले रहे हैं कि घर में टीवी, फ्रिज और फर्नीचर आदि क्या क्या सामान है, उन्हें सही सही जानकारी देना।
वो क्यों भला?
प्लानिंग भविष्य के लिए। तभी तो सरकार हमारे लिए विकास की नीतियाँ बनाएगी।
निभाएं अपनी जिम्मेदारी, NSSO को दे सही जानकारी।
मैं तो सारे मैसेज पढ़ूंगी, मैं नहीं देखूंगी तुम्हारा मोबाइल।
तू कब आया मोनू?
अब तो मोनू के कॉलेज वापस जाने का टाइम आ गया है। जब भी कॉलेज जाने की बात करो, इसका चेहरा उतर जाता है, कुछ तो गड़बड़ है।
नहीं, नया स्टूडेंट है ना, तो सीनियर तो रैगिंग करते ही होंगे। चिंता वाली कोई बात नहीं।
चिंता की बात है भाई साहब। रैगिंग जैसे गंभीर मामले को नजरअंदाज मत कीजिए। एंटी रैगिंग हेल्पलाइन नंबर पे कॉल करें और उनसे सलाह और सहयोग लें।
एंटी रैगिंग हेल्पलाइन नंबर 1800-180-5522 पर कॉल करें।
आप कदम बढ़ाइए अपना आय कर देकर। अपना एडवांस टैक्स अदा करें इस महीने की 15 तारीख तक।
I don't think the problem is in the diversity. I think the problem has to be located somewhere else for the disunity. Basic is, of course, people's relationship to land, and because of the limited economic openings there for the employable youth and all this, and the rise of this new politics of identity, I think it is not so much with regard to diversity. Diversity has never been a problem if you look at it historically. I think people have coexisted beyond and across the boundaries and all these things. So I would locate in a much more, more deeper conditions of living and environment rather than on the diversity.
If you were looking at policy point of view, if you're looking at Government of India's attempts to integrate Northeast India into the nation, I think the efforts have been tremendous. Of course, it's always fighting against internal aggression within the Northeast. Sometimes these aggressions have also spilled over to other borders, as you know, with China, Myanmar, Bangladesh, all becoming in some way deeply entangled with what is happening in Northeast India. So those make it a little more, that much more complicated. But yeah, in terms of people's efforts to understand what is this Northeast, there is abundant tourist interest, for instance, in Northeast India. So it's not as if India's Northeast is simply exotic and not understood. I mean, there are attempts, there are a great deal of efforts being made to, to sort of move back and forth between that part of the region and the rest of the country. However, there is a problem in lumping the entire region into one kind of homogeneous Northeast, which again needs to be understood, which needs to be taken apart and understood a little more carefully, because there are different regions which constitute and make up this entire Northeast.
Although there is diversity, there is a sense of being, in some sense, being a large community of cultures.
Does this augur well for the future, you think? I mean, when we look about integration within the rest of the country, I mean...
Certainly it augurs well, because the point, as I said towards the end of my lecture, what I said was that, this nation building is a challenge for the Northeasterner just as much for the people outside Northeast. It's a challenge. So they have to make as much effort, if not a greater effort, than the people outside Northeast. And it is, in order for them to make this effort, they have to understand why it is that they are making this effort.
At the core of the relationship of the nation and its Northeast are conditions for fellowship, a fellowship of meaning, cultivating respect, but by overcoming the obstacles to respecting one another.
Quote-unquote mainstream cultural baggage, with which cultures on the peripheries of national life, such as tribal cultures, are sought to be understood. Politicians, bureaucrats, corporators, traders, and even academics and intellectuals carry this baggage. This cultural baggage is a huge hindrance to understanding. As a contemporary historian of culture, Peter Burke says, judgments which are invariably made from the viewpoint of the historian's own culture act as so many hindrances to understanding.
When you see the rest of India, or you see the typical northern, inhabitant of north of India in Delhi, and you see the kind of freedom that person experiences, and you notice that person's attitude to the northeasterner is one of a rank outsider. He doesn't belong, she doesn't belong. So there is a, very obvious and a very natural kind of divide. And this leads to, it keeps compounding this problem.
At one level, it is going away, but on another level, I think the violence against Northeasterners in a city like Delhi is much more aggravated now in terms of degree. Even if people know more about the Northeast now, but the tolerance level for difference and diversity in a heartland like Delhi is becoming much more aggravated, and I think we really need to look into the reasons for that. Difference, the way people try to handle difference is, I think the tolerance level are becoming less and less now. The societies are trying to create a cocoon of their own, a world with similar people. So any stark difference which they think that they are becoming cultural or economic parasites are seen as something which needs to be disposed of or controlled or put into submission or something like that. So the degree of attacks, the nature of attacks have definitely become worse. But in terms of cultural openings into knowing more about the Northeast, I think it has become much better than earlier when we were students.
Northeast economy has never gathered sufficient energy to give it a sense of autonomy and confidence. There is good reason why, in spite of the great diversity of the region and political skirmishes within it, the Northeast should be regarded as a sort of unit that must be economically integrated and strengthened. For one thing, the entire region is almost cripplingly economically dependent on the rest of the country. Combined with the sense of historical autonomy that the region as a whole enjoys, this absence of economic self-reliance is a powerful impetus for profound dissatisfaction and anxiety among the people.
A civil society group called Accord in Nagaland, which is taking up a whole campaign against what is called, unlawful taxation. The whole idea of being taxed by, insurgent groups is also sort of adding to this whole idea of the Northeast becoming, a kind of cesspool of, illegal money coming in and money being extracted out of people not wanting to be there. And so you see even locals, for instance in Nagaland, a lot of young Naga people would not like to stay and, have earned their livelihoods there. They would like to move away because every time that they earn, every time that they are in an income group, they are also having to, give off a part of their salaries, a part of their income to the insurgencies, various insurgencies that practice.
But I think that is true for the whole world, corruption and extortion. But the thing is that some people do it politely, some people do it by toting guns. That's the difference in form. But I don't think it's something very, very specially different from the rest of the country. Extortions happen everywhere else also. Yes, it's more aggravated in the sense that the number of groups present there, all of them take portions in creating these alternative regimes of taxation from people, which you call like extortion. But I don't think world over this is something absent from what you call democratic and more civilized or peaceful societies. I think there is a lot of resentment from the common people because extortion really is no longer done to people only with money. Earlier in the peak of the movement, people used to be identified in terms of how much asset a person has, but now I think it is fairly a systemic way in which it takes a form of taxation rather than extortion in a direct sense by using force. So there is an understanding and acceptance. So there is a lot of resentment also, which obviously the systemic crisis will create.
These are manifestations of the general malaise, of political malaise, economic malaise of the nation. This whole, sense of belonging, sense of, being at ease with yourself is not there anymore. This sense of being at ease with yourself in the country. And this is not there because of all kinds of things that have happened to the Northeast. And once this sense is not there, then, you think, well, anything goes then. I'm not at ease with my own situation in this place. And there is kind of despair. There's moral despair, there's emotional despair, and so on. And this despair is shared by many communities in the North.
So you have all non-lapsable funds coming into the region for development and to fight insurgency. There are huge and very, very, overwhelmingly large counter-insurgency programs. And it is believed, and that is what the gossip says, that a lot of the money is siphoned. A lot of this fund, the central funding, actually goes away, doesn't really reach where it ought to. So these are, sort of compounding, and they add to the usual and the major sort of insecurities of the region.
तो बार-बार घर बदलता रहता है, हम कहाँ ढूंढते फिरेंगे? किधर है?
अब नहीं होगा। प्रिया ने कहा हर महीने किराया देने से अच्छा है अपनी EMI भरो।
तो हम किराएदार से मकान मालिक बन गए।
मतलब ये घर तुम लोग का है?
But seriously guys, किश्तों से रिश्ता जोड़ो। किराया तो पराया होता है।
आसान किश्तों में होम लोन्स, बैंक ऑफ इंडिया।
इस बार NSSO वाले ट्रांसपोर्ट, मोबाइल, लॉन्ड्री और अन्य सेवाओं पर होने वाले घरेलू खर्चों की जानकारी ले रहे हैं। साथ ही हमारे घर में टीवी, फ्रिज और फर्नीचर आदि क्या क्या सामान है, उन्हें सही जानकारी देना।
वो क्यों भला?
तभी तो सरकार हमारे लिए विकास की नीतियाँ बनाएगी।
निभाएं अपनी जिम्मेदारी, NSSO को दे सही जानकारी।
मैं तो सारे मैसेज पढ़ूंगी, मैं नहीं देखूंगी तुम्हारा मोबाइल।
तू कब आया मोनू?
अब तो मोनू के कॉलेज वापस जाने का टाइम आ गया है। जब भी कॉलेज जाने की बात करो, इसका चेहरा उतर जाता है, कुछ तो गड़बड़ है।
नहीं, नया स्टूडेंट है ना, तो सीनियर तो रैगिंग करते ही होंगे। चिंता वाली कोई बात नहीं है।
चिंता की बात है भाई साहब। रैगिंग जैसे गंभीर मामले को नजरअंदाज मत कीजिए। एंटी रैगिंग हेल्पलाइन नंबर पे कॉल करें और उनसे सलाह और सहयोग लें।
एंटी रैगिंग हेल्पलाइन नंबर 1800-180-5522 पर कॉल करें।
अच्छी है ना? अरे मुन्ना लाल,
अरे वाह, जम रहे हो बनवारी।
इस बार शारदा को महात्मा गांधी नरेगा की मजदूरी के पैसे मिले, तो हाट से ये कमीज खरीद लाई।
क्या? जोरू के पैसों से?
कैसी बातें करते हो मुन्ना लाल? आज औरत हर मामले में मर्द के बराबर है। मेरे कंधे से कंधा मिलाकर खड़ी है शारदा।
महात्मा गांधी नरेगा, ग्रामीण नारी का अभिमान।
मैं तो सारे मैसेज पढ़ूंगी, मैं नहीं देखूंगी तुम्हारा मोबाइल।
तू कब आया मोनू?
अब तो मोनू के कॉलेज वापस जाने का टाइम आ गया है। जब भी कॉलेज जाने की बात करो, इसका चेहरा उतर जाता है, कुछ तो गड़बड़ है।
नहीं, नया स्टूडेंट है ना, तो सीनियर तो रैगिंग करते ही होंगे। चिंता वाली कोई बात नहीं है।
चिंता की बात है भाई साहब। रैगिंग जैसे गंभीर मामले को नजरअंदाज मत कीजिए। एंटी रैगिंग हेल्पलाइन नंबर पे कॉल करें और उनसे सलाह और सहयोग लें।
एंटी रैगिंग हेल्पलाइन नंबर 1800-180-5522 पर कॉल करें।
The treasure of diversity and its preservation may be the lens through which the nation and the Northeast should be understood.
Without the sense of what or who I am lost in the world. An unaccommodated, denuded creature that is unaccommodated by language, memory, and community. Man is no more without memory. If I have total amnesia suddenly, I'm totally unaccommodated. The cost of a community like our tribal, non-literate communities comes down to it orally from generation to generation. Through its language, music, songs, other forms of creative expression, and its great variety of narratives, tales, stories, legends, and myths. These, as it were, constitute the thickness or density of their history.
I think as long as you talk about nation in the current way, there is no future for it except it's bleak. I think we need to reimagine how our nation is made, and this is I'm not just talking about India per se, but about South Asia and Southeast Asia. I think we really need to rethink about how nation states are formed. People should be easy with borders, and there should be some kind of, at least some respectable economic equality, if not entirely idealistic, but the move should be towards that.
The Northeast, territorially speaking, it covers one of the most important strategic parts of the country. So I think Northeast in itself, geographically becomes very important. Plus, as we've heard today, it's got a very rich history, and the Northeast is integral in terms of, aspects of security aspects of the diversity of cultures, and I think it houses some of the most diverse, multilingual, multi-ethnic peoples of this country. Those are reasons enough for it to be very important. It's also, please remember, very rich in oil, rich in mineral, and it's the world's largest tea producing region.